Why is that old parasite here? We have no room for you. Tameka's screams, sharp and piercing, echoed through my beach house, a brutal assault on my senses. I stood at the entrance, keys trembling in my hand, watching my daughter-in-law glare at me from the terrace with unrestrained contempt. I'd arrived early that Friday morning, anticipating the usual peaceful solitude of my sanctuary. Instead, I was confronted with a scene that would forever be etched in my memory. My house was overrun. 3 unfamiliar cars crammed my driveway. Loud music pulsed from the living room, competing with the acrid smell of burnt food that permeated the air. Children tore around my deck, their shrieks mingling with the sounds of a soccer game played with reckless abandon against my carefully tended red geranium pots I'd nurtured for years. The lawn, meticulously mowed every weekend, was a devastated landscape, littered with empty beer cans. My cherished wicker chairs, purchased with such love just the previous year, were draped with damp towels and soiled clothing. My beautiful garden resembled a post-apocalyptic wasteland after a raucous, out-of-control party. Tameka showed no remorse when she saw me. Quite the opposite. She stood planted in the doorway, radiating an air of ownership. She wore one of my favorite aprons, the one I'd painstakingly embroidered myself 10 years earlier. Her eyes held that familiar icy glint, the one she reserved for family dinners when she thought no one was watching. "Tameka, I didn't know you were here," I said, struggling to maintain a calm voice despite the tightness in my chest. "This is my house. I've been coming here every holiday weekend for 20 years. She laughed. A cruel, brittle laugh that reduced me to insignificance. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "Darius told me we could use the house as long as we wanted. Besides, we're actually doing something productive here. You just come to complain and interrupt our family plans." More people emerged from behind her, Shanice, her sister, accompanied by her 2 teenagers, her flamboyantly haired mother, whose gaze branded me an intruder, and 3 other individuals I didn't recognize: an older man in a Hawaiian shirt, presumably her uncle, a young woman clutching a baby, and another man calmly smoking on my balcony as if he owned the place. They all stared, a mixture of annoyance and surprise clouding their expressions. My presence in my own home was clearly a monumental inconvenience. Tameka's mother approached, appraising me with undisguised disdain. "Is this the famous mother-in-law you always talk about?" she asked her daughter, her tone dripping with mockery. "I thought she'd be more imposing. She looks pretty ordinary." Their malicious snickers felt like sharp needles piercing my skin. There I was, 70 years old, in my simple travel clothes, subjected to the judgment of complete strangers on my own property. "Where's Darius?" I asked, my heart accelerating. My son had to be here. He would explain this. Was there a misunderstanding? "Darius is working as always," Tameka replied, crossing her arms. "Unlike you, he has real responsibilities. Look, Loretta, there's no room for you here. The rooms are all taken. The kitchen is being used to prepare food for the whole family, and frankly, your presence will only create unnecessary tension." I was frozen. Time seemed to stop, the air thick with betrayal, as if the walls themselves closed in to witness my humiliation. She was actually evicting me from my own house. The house I'd built brick by brick after my husband's death. The house I'd worked day and night for years as a seamstress to afford. Besides, Tameka continued with a venomous smile, I already spoke with Darius, and we agreed that this house needs to be used more. It makes no sense for it to be empty most of the time while you live comfortably in the city. We have kids who need space to grow. Her words struck me like blows. 20 years of building this house after my husband died. 20 years of paying every penny of the mortgage with money earned from tirelessly cutting and sewing clothes for other people's families. 20 years of nurturing every detail, every plant, every corner of this place that had become my sanctuary, my refuge from the harsh realities of the world. "This house is mine, Tameka," I managed to say, my voice weaker than I intended. "I have the documents. I pay all the bills. "Oh, that's enough," she interrupted, her voice rising. "Always the same thing. How it's yours, how you pay. Darius is your son, isn't he? What's yours is also his, and what's his is also mine. That's how normal families work." The children had stopped playing. Everyone watched me in silence, their eyes judging, waiting for my reaction. The humiliation burned my cheeks, but something within me refused to break, refused to give them the spectacle they craved. One of the teenagers, Tameka's niece, approached, her expression insolent. "Why don't you just go to a hotel? My aunt is right. There's no room for anyone else here." "It's fine, dear," I said, forcing a smile that felt hollow, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I understand the situation perfectly." Tameka smiled triumphantly, believing she'd won. The others seemed satisfied, as if witnessing a righteous victory. They had no idea what they'd unleashed. As I walked away from my house, my steps slow and deliberate, my mind journeyed back 20 years, to when this property was nothing but a vacant lot overgrown with weeds and dreams. I was 50 then, recently widowed, Darius barely 25. It was just the two of us against the world, and I'd made the most crucial decision of my life, to build a haven for our family. I remembered that August morning, arriving at the lot with my worn work shoes and my savings book. Every dollar had been painstakingly saved, earned from working as a seamstress from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. Wedding dresses, school uniforms, alterations, curtains for other people's homes. My fingers bled countless times on that sewing machine I still own, but every stitch was a brick closer to my dream. The architect had eyed me with skepticism when I'd announced my intention to build a beach house as a widowed seamstress. "Mrs. Crawford, this is going to cost at least $45,000, he'd said, sifting through his papers. "Are you sure you can handle this expense?" I'd produced my bank book. I had exactly $45,000 saved penny by penny. Darius had accompanied me on the first day the workers arrived. His eyes shone with excitement, witnessing his mother transform poverty into hope. "Mom, are we really going to have a beach house?" he'd asked as I marked the foundation lines. "We're not just going to have it, son," I'd said. "We're going to build it with our own hands." And so we did. For 2 years every weekend I drove out here to oversee the construction, carrying sand, painting walls, planting every tree in the garden. Darius joined me whenever his college classes allowed. Together we chose the kitchen tiles, the creamy wall color, the precise placement of each window to capture the sea breeze. When we finally finished the house, Darius hugged me on the deck. "Mom, you're the strongest woman I know. Someday when I have a family, I'll tell them how my mother built this paradise with pure love and hard work. How had that same boy allowed his wife to humiliate me in the place I'd built with such sacrifice?" The house wasn't just walls and a roof. It was the symbol of my independence after widowhood, proof that a woman alone could succeed without relying on anyone. It was my refuge when the world felt too heavy, my place to remember Loretta Johnson before I became merely Darius's mother. Every object held a story. The dining table, purchased with extra money earned from 3 months of making Quinceañera dresses. The living room curtains sewn myself from sale fabrics. The kitchen pots, costing $200 saved by foregoing new clothes for a year. But the most painful memories were of Tameka's earlier visits. In the first years of her marriage to Darius, she'd been a grateful daughter-in-law. "Oh, Mother Crawford, what a beautiful house you have. You must be so proud of everything you've accomplished." She'd helped me cook, played with the children on the beach, even brought me flowers from the market. When had it changed? When had she begun to see me as a burden instead of the woman who'd given her a husband? Perhaps when Darius received a higher-paying job and she stopped working. Or maybe when they bought their own city house, and she began to feel superior to the widowed seamstress in a small apartment. The signs had been there for years, but I'd ignored them, her comments about my age, her suggestions about my clothes, her hints about the house. Now I understood. She'd been planning this for a long time. The invasion hadn't been spontaneous. It had been calculated, designed to humiliate me and seize what I'd built with such effort. As I walked towards my car, I felt something I hadn't experienced in decades. A cold, pure rage rising from my stomach to my throat. It wasn't the blind rage that makes you scream and lose control. It was something far more dangerous. The intelligent rage of a woman who'd survived poverty, widowhood, and decades of relentless hard work. Tameka had made a fatal mistake. She'd underestimated Loretta Johnson. She thought I was a harmless old lady who'd remain silent in the face of humiliation. She didn't know she was dealing with a woman who'd built an empire from a single dollar, who'd raised a son alone, who'd faced the world empty-handed and won. But what hurt most wasn't Tameka's betrayal, it was Darius's silent complicity. My son, the boy I'd nursed through fevers, the young man I'd supported through college, the man who'd promised to always protect me, had allowed his wife to treat me like refuse in my own home. I got in my car and started the engine. A hotel for the night, temporary, very temporary, because Tameka Dyson had just declared a war she had no idea how to fight, and I was a veteran. The Golden Sands Hotel cost $85 a night, money I hadn't planned to spend because I was supposed to be sleeping in my own bed in my own house. But there I was, checking in like any other tourist while my home was occupied by invaders who felt entitled to my property. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tameka's arrogant smile, heard her venomous words, felt the burning humiliation. By 6 a.m. I was awake, drinking coffee and planning my next move. I decided to return to the house to try talking calmly. Perhaps it had been a misunderstanding. Maybe Tameka had overreacted due to the stress of having so much family together. Maybe Darius would appear and resolve the situation. After all, he was my son. He knew better than anyone what I'd sacrifice for that house. When I arrived at 8 a.m., I found the front door locked, my own door. I had to ring the doorbell of my own house as if I were a visitor. Shanice, Tameka's sister, answered, still in her pajamas, her expression annoyed. "What do you want now?" she asked without even a greeting. "Good morning," I replied, maintaining as much dignity as possible. "I've come to retrieve some personal belongings, and I need to speak with Tameka about this situation. Tameka is sleeping, and your things aren't here anymore. We put them in bags in the garage so they wouldn't get in the way." My things in bags in the garage. It felt like a physical blow to my chest. "What do you mean my things are in bags? This is my house, Shanice. Everything in here is mine." "Look, lady, I don't want any trouble," but Tameka explained the whole situation to me. "Darius gave her permission to use the house, and you guys already worked everything out. I don't know why you're here to make drama now." She let me in, but I felt like an intruder in my own home. The smell was different: strange food, cigarettes, cheap perfume. My living room was a chaotic jumble of inflatable mattresses and discarded clothing. The furniture I'd chosen with such care was stained and disheveled. When I entered the kitchen, my heart nearly stopped. My beautiful kitchen, designed for countless family meals, was a disaster. The stove was coated in burnt grease. The sink overflowed with foul-smelling, dirty dishes. And they'd used my best pots to cook something that had left permanent stains on the bottom. "Where are my china plates?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Oh, some of those broke. The kids were playing, and you know how they are. Tameka says they were very old." My china plates, purchased one by one over years of saving, used only on special occasions, cherished like treasures, were broken, discarded as worthless. I ascended the stairs to my master bedroom, my intended sanctuary. The door stood open. Inside was Tameka's mother, already dressed, organizing clothes in my closet as if it were her own. "Excuse me," I said, striving to maintain my composure. "This is my room." "Oh, my daughter Tameka explained everything to me. Don't you worry. I'll take very good care of things. Look, I even organized your clothes in these bags so they don't get wrinkled." My dresses, blouses, shoes, all my personal clothing, were crammed into plastic bags like discarded donations. 2 unfamiliar children slept in my bed. My favorite pillows lay on the floor, stained and soiled. "Ma'am, I need you to get these children off my bed," I said firmly. "Your bed?" She scoffed. "Oh, please. Tameka told me you weren't going to use this room anymore. The kids need to sleep comfortably, not on the floor." Felt like a waking nightmare. In my own house, I was treated as the intruder, my 30 years of work and sacrifice rendered meaningless, my rights to my property dismissed as an old lady's whims. I descended the stairs, trembling with indignation, and searched for Tameka. I found her on the terrace, sipping coffee from one of my favorite mugs, wearing my housecoat, chatting on the phone as if she were the mistress of the manor. "Yes, Mom. The house is beautiful. Don't worry, I've already handled everything. The mother-in-law understood how things are now. She laughed, as if my humiliation were a hilarious joke. Upon seeing me, she hung up, her expression annoyed. What are you doing here so early? I thought it was clear that there was no room for you. Tameka, we need to talk. This house is legally mine. I pay the taxes. I pay for the maintenance. I have all the documents. Darius has no right to give you permission to use my property without consulting me. Oh, please don't start with your legal drama. Darius is your son, right? Children inherit from their parents. It's normal. Besides, we're taking better care of the house than you are. Look how full of family it is. How happy it looks. Happy? You've destroyed my kitchen. You broke my plates and put my clothes in bags like they were trash. Well, you have a lot of old things that are no longer useful. We took the opportunity to do a general cleanup. We did you a favor. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This woman had invaded my house, destroyed my possessions, humiliated me, and then had the audacity to claim she'd done me a favor. Where is Darius? I asked one last time. I already told you he's working. But don't worry, he's completely on board with all of this. In fact, it was his idea. He said, it's time for this house to be used for something productive instead of sitting empty, waiting for your occasional visits. That lie broke my heart. I knew my son better than anyone. Darius would never have orchestrated something like this behind my back. But then why wasn't he here defending me? Why was he allowing his wife to treat me this way? Tameka, I'm going to be very clear with you. You have until tomorrow to get your entire family out of my house. This situation is going to end now. She laughed that cruel, familiar laugh. What? Are you going to call the police? Are you going to sue your own son? Don't be ridiculous, Loretta. You know you can't do anything against us. We're family. In that moment she was right about one thing, we were family. But she'd forgotten a fundamental rule of true families. Wolves don't attack the pack. And she just attacked the oldest, wisest wolf of all. I smiled coldly and turned to leave, fire burning in my chest, already plotting the counterstrike they would never see coming. You're right, Tameka. We are family, and you'll soon see what that really means. That afternoon, I returned under a pretense. I'd forgotten some important medication from my bathroom cabinet. Tameka reluctantly let me in but didn't accompany me. She was too busy organizing a barbecue on my deck with her extended family. As I climbed the stairs to my bathroom, I took the opportunity to fully assess the damage. What I found was even worse than I'd imagined. My master bedroom wasn't just occupied by Tameka's mother and the unknown children. They'd moved my vanity, scratched the mirror, and used my drawers to store their soiled underwear. The bathroom was a catastrophe. My white porcelain bathtub, specially installed for relaxing baths after long workdays, was stained with black hair dye. My hand-embroidered towels lay on the floor, dirty and foul-smelling. My personal care products had vanished, likely used by all the women in Tameka's family. But what truly sent a tremor of rage through me was what I found in my secret closet. Behind the main closet, I had a small hidden space where I kept my most important documents and sentimental valuables. My ultra-private sanctuary, unknown to anyone else. The space had been discovered and violated. My documents were scattered, some on the floor. The jewelry I'd inherited from my mother was gone. The house's property titles were crumpled, as if someone had been carelessly examining them. But the most alarming discovery were papers that weren't mine, legal documents bearing Darius and Tameka's names. With trembling hands I quickly read them. It was a request to change the property ownership. They wanted to transfer the house into Darius's name, claiming that I, due to my advanced age and alleged deteriorated mental condition, was no longer capable of managing valuable property. Deteriorated mental condition me, the woman who'd managed her finances impeccably for 70 years, who'd built a fortune from nothing, who was still working and maintaining her financial independence. They wanted to declare me mentally incompetent to steal my house. The paper was dated last week. This confirmed that the invasion hadn't been spontaneous. It had been part of an elaborate scheme to seize my property, using the law to their advantage. At the bottom of the papers I found something that chilled me to the bone, a real estate appraisal. They'd appraised my beach house at $300,000. And there was a handwritten note in Tameka's script. With this money we can buy a bigger apartment and send the kids to private school. We just need her to sign the papers. And for the old lady not to cause any trouble. The old lady. That's what they called me. The old lady who wasn't supposed to cause trouble while they stripped me of everything I'd built in my life. I placed all the documents in my bag. It was the evidence I needed to fully grasp the situation. This wasn't just a family invasion. It was a planned robbery, an elaborate fraud to steal my life's work, with my own blood as an accomplice. I left the closet and went to my bedroom window. From there, I could see the terrace where Tameka's entire extended family was celebrating. Loud music blared. They grilled meat on my new barbecue, using my outdoor plate set. Children ran through my garden unsupervised, trampling the flowers I'd planted with such care. But what hurt most was seeing Shanice, Tameka's sister, taking selfies in different corners of my house, posing as if it were her new property. In one photo, she sat in my favorite hammock. In another, she served drinks in the kitchen, acting as hostess. She was uploading them to social media with comments like, "Family vacation at our new beach house. Blessed with this paradise, our new house." It wasn't even the family's house anymore. It was her new house. I photographed everything with my phone, the mess, the damage, the stains, the scattered clothing. If this turned into a legal battle, I needed evidence of how they treated my property. When I went downstairs, I heard Tameka on the phone again. This time she didn't bother to. She lowered her voice when she saw me. "No, Mom, don't worry," I assured her. "The lawyer says it's a straightforward process. Since Darius is an only child, he can claim the inheritance early due to his mother's supposed incapacity. And once the house is in his name, we can do whatever we want with it." Early inheritance due to incapacity. That was their plan. They wanted to declare me mentally incompetent to steal my inheritance while I was still alive. They'd already submitted the falsified medical documents. They paid that doctor from the rundown clinic $50 to sign a report falsely diagnosing me with senile dementia. Darius was hesitant at first, but I convinced him it was for the children's benefit. Fake medical documents, a corrupt doctor, a fabricated senile dementia diagnosis, my own son, convinced that stripping me of my property was in the children's best interest. The conversation continued, but I couldn't bear to listen any longer. My world was crumbling, not just because of the betrayal, but also because of the sheer sophistication of their deception. They'd meticulously planned every detail, every lie, every forged document needed to legally rob me blind. I left the house without a word of goodbye. There was nothing left to discuss with that woman. Words had become meaningless. This wasn't just a family dispute resolvable through conversation and reconciliation. It was a war, and they'd fired the first shots with the vilest weapons imaginable. Lies, fraudulent documents, medical corruption, and the manipulation of my own son. But they'd made a fatal error. They underestimated their opponent. They believed Loretta Johnson was a helpless old woman who'd surrender at the first legal threat. They didn't realize they were facing a woman who'd built everything she owned from scratch. A woman who understood the true value of hard-earned money, honest work, and unwavering justice. Now it was my turn to strategize. Monday morning, Darius finally arrived. He pulled up to the house in his new Toyota, the one he'd bought with the bonus from his promotion last year. He parked in my driveway as if nothing had transpired, as if his family hadn't invaded my home and devastated my life over a weekend. I observed him from the hotel terrace, watching my house through binoculars I'd purchased at a sporting goods store. I'd spent the sleepless night organizing the documents I discovered, taking notes, and preparing for this moment. I knew Darius would come. He had to. Their plan couldn't be completed without his signature. I watched him greet Tameka with a kiss on the cheek, embrace some of the children playing in the garden, behaving as if everything were perfectly normal, as if his mother hadn't been humiliated and driven from her own home, as if he weren't a willing participant in an elaborate scheme to steal my property. I waited 20 minutes before approaching the house. I needed him to feel comfortable, to believe he was in control. When I rang the doorbell, he answered. "Mom," he said with that forced smile he used when he knew he'd done something wrong. The same smile he'd used as a child when I caught him lying about his grades. "How are you?" "Tameka told me you came over the weekend," I said. "Tameka told you?" I repeated slowly, savoring each word. "Is that all she told you, Darius?" "Well, yeah," he replied. "She said there was a slight misunderstanding, but that everything's already resolved." "I thought we'd discussed this before." "Discuss what exactly?" Darius grew nervous, fiddling with his car keys as he always did when he was lying. About using the house," he stammered. "You know you rarely come here, Mom. And Tameka's family needs a place to gather for vacations." "Oh, I see," I said calmly. "And did we also discuss declaring me mentally incompetent?" His face paled. "What? What are you talking about?" I removed the documents from my bag and placed them before him. "I'm talking about this, Darius," I said, pointing to the papers. "Request for property transfer due to owner's mental incapacity. Does that sound familiar?" His hands trembled as he took the papers. For a fleeting moment I saw my real son, the frightened boy I'd raised alone for so many years, but that moment quickly vanished as Tameka appeared behind him. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her voice laced with that controlling tone she always used. "Darius, I thought we agreed there was nothing to discuss." "Tameka," I interrupted. "She found the papers." "What papers?" Tameka asked, feigning innocence. "Darius, your mother's confused again. You know how she gets when she's stressed." "I'm not confused, Tameka," I retorted. "And I'm not senile either, as the fake medical report you paid $50 for claims." The mask dropped from her face, her eyes blazing with pure hatred. "You were spying on our private conversations." "I was defending my house from invaders and thieves," I countered. "Thieves?" she shrieked. "We're not thieves. Darius is your son. He has a right to this property. Darius has a right to inherit when I die, not to steal from me while I'm still alive," I corrected her. "Oh please," she scoffed. "You're old, Loretta. How many more years do you plan to live? Why don't you just let us do something productive with this house instead of letting it sit empty, awaiting your infrequent visits?" The ensuing silence was deafening. Darius hung his head like a scolded child. Tameka's mother and Shanice had emerged from the house and were listening from the terrace. The children had stopped playing and were watching us with curious eyes. "Did you just suggest that my mother hurry up and die so you can have her house?" Darius finally raised his voice. "I didn't say that," Tameka defended herself. "I just said she doesn't need so many properties at her age. Who are you to decide what I need or don't need?" I demanded. "Who do you think you are to invade my house, destroy my belongings, steal my jewelry, and plot to strip me of my life's work with forged documents?" "We didn't steal anything," Tameka insisted. "No," I challenged. "Then where are the pearl earrings my mother left me? Where is my late husband's gold watch? Where are the silver coins I kept in my secret closet?" Darius looked at me in surprise. "What silver coins?" "The ones your wife knows about because she ransacked my private documents searching for ways to steal from me." "That's a lie," Tameka screamed, but her face betrayed her. "Darius," I said to my son, maintaining the calmest voice I could muster, "I need you to tell me the truth right now. Did you know about the property transfer papers?" Tameka yelled at him. "Tell her you knew. Tell her you agreed. Tell her it's time for you to think about your real family instead of pleasing your mother your whole life." "Shut up, Tameka." Darius finally exploded. "Just shut up." We all fell silent. Darius never yelled at his wife. He was a quiet man, averse to conflict, always seeking family harmony. Seeing him lose control was shocking to everyone present. "Mom," he said, tears welling in his eyes. I never wanted things to get this far. But you knew about the papers, didn't you? Yes or no?" I pressed him. "Yes," he whispered. "I did." My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, the weight of betrayal pressing down like an avalanche. suffocating every breath. It was one thing to suspect my son's betrayal. It was entirely another to hear him confirm it with his own voice. And the fake medical report, too. Tameka said it was just a formality, that all children have to do that when their parents reach a certain age, Darius explained. That it was normal. That it was to protect you. Protect me from what, Darius? I asked. From making bad decisions with your money. What bad decisions? Spending my money on my house for my vacations? No, Mom, but Tameka is right. The house is empty most of the time and we have expenses. We have kids who need. And that's why you decided to rob me instead of asking me for help? I finished his sentence. We're not robbing you, Tameka interrupted again. We're helping you be more practical with your money. Helping me be practical by forging medical reports, inventing that I have dementia, and invading my house like thieves? That's enough. Tameka screamed. Darius, tell her the truth once and for all. Tell her you've already spoken with the lawyer, that the papers are ready, that all that's missing is your signature to transfer the property. Tell her it's time for you to act like a man instead of an obedient child. Darius looked at me with eyes filled with shame and pain. Mom, I'm so sorry. You're asking for forgiveness and at the same time you're going to rob me of my house, I said. It's not robbing, he stammered. It's securing the future of my kids by destroying the present of your mother. He didn't answer. He just stood there, caught between his wife, who was pressuring him to sign my financial death warrant, and his mother, who was looking at him with a broken heart. It's okay, Darius, I finally said. I understand. I know where your loyalties lie. I turned to walk back to my car, then paused and faced them all. Just one more thing, I said. You thought Loretta Johnson was a defenseless old woman who'd give up without a fight. You were wrong. I fought poverty and won. I fought widowhood and won. I built this property brick by brick when you weren't even in my life. And now I'm going to fight against you and I'm going to win this too. The triumphant smile vanished from Tameka's face. For the first time I saw fear in her eyes. With what lawyer? She asked, her voice trembling. You don't have money for legal battles. I smiled. Who told you I don't have money, dear? I walked out of my house with my dignity intact, but with a broken heart. Darius had made his choice. He'd chosen easy money over the woman who had raised, educated, and loved him unconditionally for 45 years. He'd chosen his wife's manipulative tirades over the quiet voice of his own conscience. But if they thought I'd simply retreat into a corner and weep, they were profoundly mistaken. I drove straight to the bank. I needed to determine exactly how much money I had available for this war. For the past 20 years, I'd continued saving religiously, even after paying off the house. Every month, I'd set aside $300 from my pension and my sewing income. I'd learned from a young age that savings equaled power, security, and freedom. The bank manager, Jerome Carter, had known me for 15 years. He was a serious professional man who had always respected my financial discipline. Loretta, how can I help you today? He asked. I need the exact balance of all my accounts, and I need to discuss a sensitive legal matter, I replied. When he displayed the figures on the screen, I smiled for the first time in days. I had $87,000 in savings, plus $23,000 in certificates of deposit and $12,000 in my checking account. A total of $122,000. Tameka had miscalculated. She'd assumed I was a poor old woman relying solely on a meager pension. She didn't know that Loretta Johnson had been a hard-working woman all her life, saving every penny to protect herself from precisely this type of situation. Mr. Peterson, I said, I need you to block any attempts by third parties to access my accounts, and I need an official letter from the bank confirming my mental capacity to manage my finances. Of course, Loretta. Is there a problem? My family is trying to have me declared mentally incompetent to seize my assets. His face grew serious. That's very serious. Do you need a referral to a specialized lawyer? Yes, please. He gave me the name and phone number of Marcus Freeman, a lawyer specializing in family law and asset fraud. He's the best in these types of cases, he said. Tell him I sent you. I left the bank with renewed vigor coursing through my veins. It wasn't just the peace of mind of knowing I had the financial resources to defend myself. It was the mental clarity of having a concrete plan of action. I called Marcus Freeman from the bank's parking lot. His secretary scheduled an appointment for that same afternoon. The lawyer can see you at 4 o'clock, she said. It's urgent, right? Very urgent, I confirmed. I spent the rest of the morning organizing all the documents I'd gathered. The forged property transfer papers, photos of the damage to my house, the list of stolen items, and copies of all my legitimate property titles. I also printed screenshots from Shanice's social media where she was flaunting her new beach house. At 4 o'clock, I was seated in Marcus Freeman's elegant office. He was a man in his mid-60s, gray-haired with intelligent eyes and a professional demeanor that instilled immediate trust. Mrs. Crawford, he said, tell me everything from the beginning. Don't omit a single detail. I recounted the entire story. The invasion of my house, Tameka's humiliations, the fraudulent documents, the fake medical report, the stolen jewelry, Darius's betrayal. He took detailed notes, asking precise questions that demonstrated his expertise in these types of cases. Do you have the original property documents? He asked. Yes, all of them, I replied. The house is entirely in my name. I paid for every penny of the construction, and I have all the receipts from the last 20 years. Has the doctor who allegedly signed the dementia report ever examined you? Never in my life have I seen him, I said. I don't even know his name. Excellent, he said. That's a falsification of medical documents, a federal crime. Do you have any documentation for the stolen jewelry? I'm sure I do, I replied. Some of it, especially my late husband's watch, is insured for $3,000. Thomas smiled. Mrs. Crawford, your case is solid. Very solid. We have trespassing, robbery, falsification of documents, attempted asset fraud, and possibly medical corruption. Your family has seriously overstepped. What can we do? I asked. Several things, he replied. First, tomorrow we will file an eviction lawsuit for illegal trespassing. Second, we will report the theft of your jewelry to the police. Third, we will report the falsification of medical documents to the medical board and the district attorney's office. And fourth, we will request a restraining order to prevent them from continuing to fraudulently use your name. How long will all that take? I asked. The eviction can be immediate if the judge sees clear evidence of trespassing, he explained. In cases like this where the trespassers have no legal right to the property, the law acts swiftly. How much will it cost? My fees are $5,000 for the entire process, he said. Can you pay them? I can pay them today if you wish, I said. His smile widened. I like to work with clients who take their legal defense seriously. Mrs. Crawford, your family thought you were a defenseless old woman, but they were wrong. You are a prepared woman. I've been preparing to defend myself against the world for 70 years, counselor, I replied. I'm not going to stop now. Excellent attitude, he said. One important question. Are you willing to pursue this to the end? Because when we begin this process, your relationship with your son will likely be irreparable. I was silent for a moment, thinking of Darius, of the boy he had been, of the man he could have been, of the coward he had become. Counselor, I said, my son betrayed me for money, declared me mentally incompetent for money, and publicly humiliated me for money. If our relationship can be so easily broken over money, then it was never a genuine relationship. And if he tries to regret it and apologize during this process, then he should have thought about it before signing papers to rob me. Apologies after being caught don't count. Thomas nodded respectfully. Understood. We will proceed with everything. First thing in the morning we'll file all the lawsuits. There's one more thing, counselor, I said. I want them to understand that they completely underestimated their opponent. I want them to learn that the consequences of betraying family are real and permanent. What do you have in mind? I want this lawsuit to be public, I said. I want all their friends, neighbors, and acquaintances to know exactly what they did. I want the social cost of their betrayal to be as high as the legal cost. Court records are public, and we can ensure the local media hear about such a scandalous case, he said. I left that office feeling completely transformed from when I'd entered. I was no longer Loretta Johnson, the betrayed and humiliated mother. Now I was Loretta Johnson, the woman defending herself with every legal weapon at her disposal. That night from my hotel room, I called my sister Patrice in Texas. I told her the whole story. Loretta, I can't believe Darius would do that after everything you sacrificed for him, she said. It no longer matters what I sacrificed, Patrice, I replied. What matters is what I'm going to get back. Do you need me to come help you? She asked. No, sister, I said. I have to fight this battle alone. But thank you for offering. I hung up the phone and sat on the bed, looking toward my house. From the hotel window I could see the lights on, the music still playing, the celebration continuing as if nothing had happened. Tomorrow was going to be a very different day for all of them. I smiled in the darkness. Loretta Johnson had returned to war. On Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning, Marcus Freeman arrived at my house with 3 legal documents, a police officer, and a public notary. I arrived at the exact same time in a taxi, dressed in my best gray suit and carrying a folder full of evidence. Tameka's family was having breakfast on my terrace when they saw the legal caravan park in the driveway. I saw Tameka drop her coffee cup when she recognized the official license plates of the police car. Good morning, Thomas said in a professional and commanding voice. I am attorney Marcus Freeman, legal representative for Mrs. Loretta Johnson, the legitimate owner of this property. We have come to deliver an immediate eviction order for illegal trespassing. Tameka rushed out onto the terrace, a look of panic etched on her face. What are you talking about? This is my husband's house. We have the right to be here. Ma'am, the police officer replied. Do you have any documents that prove legal rights to this property? My husband, she stammered. My husband is the owner's son. He gave me permission. Where is your husband at this moment? The officer pressed. He's at work, she replied. Thomas produced the first documents. Here, I have the original deed to the property completely in Mrs. Loretta Johnson's name. I also have the property tax receipts for the last 5 years, all paid by Mrs. Crawford, and I have this court-ordered immediate eviction for trespassing without the owner's consent. Tameka's mother appeared behind her daughter, visibly agitated. What's going on here? She asked. What's going on? I said in a calm but firm voice. Is that you invaded my house without my consent, destroyed my property, stole my belongings, and attempted to strip me of my life's work using forged documents. Now you are going to face the legal consequences. Shanice emerged from the house, recording everything on her phone. This is elder abuse, she yelled. The lady is crazy and is harassing us. Miss, the public notary intervened. Stop recording immediately. This is an official legal proceeding, and you are not authorized to document it. Thomas produced more papers. I also have a formal complaint here for the theft of jewelry and valuables with a detailed list of all the missing items and their estimated values. We didn't steal anything. Tameka yelled. Where are the pearl earrings that belonged to Mrs. Crawford's mother? The police officer asked. I don't know what earrings you're talking about, Tameka stammered. And the gold watch of Mrs. Crawford's late husband, insured for $3,000? The officer pressed. Tameka fell silent, her face turning crimson with shame. Furthermore, Thomas continued, we have evidence of falsifying medical documents to try to declare Mrs. Crawford mentally incompetent. This is a federal crime punishable by prison time. Medical documents? The officer asked. What kind of documents? I showed him the papers I'd found. A fake report claiming I had senile dementia, signed by a doctor who had never examined me, paid for with $50 to facilitate the theft of my property. The police officer reviewed the documents and frowned. "This is very serious, ma'am," he said to Tameka. "You paid for a fake medical report?" I didn't," she stammered. We just wanted to help her. She's too old to manage so many properties. And that's why you decided to steal her house using fraudulent documents." I finished her sentence. Just then Darius arrived, speeding into the driveway. He jumped out of the car, his face etched with desperation. Someone had undoubtedly informed him of the police's arrival. "What's going on here?" he asked, breathless. "Your wife and her family are being legally evicted from your mother's property for illegal trespassing," Thomas explained. "And you, Mr. Crawford, are being cited as an accomplice in a case of attempted asset fraud." "Asset fraud?" Darius asked, his eyes widening. I showed him the documents. "The property transfer papers you were going to sign to steal my house. Darius, the papers your wife hid in my secret closet." Darius turned ashen. "Mom, I can explain." "There's nothing left to explain," I said. "You already made your decision." "But I didn't want it to get to this." "Didn't want it to get to what?" "To me defending myself?" I asked. "You hoped I would remain silent while they stole my life's work." Tameka approached Darius and whispered something in his ear. He shook his head. "What is your wife telling you, Darius?" I asked. "She wants me to tell the police that you have mental problems, that you invent things." "What? And what are you going to say?" I asked. Darius looked me in the eyes for the first time in days. I saw the scared boy he once was, but I also saw the cowardly man he had become. I don't know what to say, Mom," he mumbled. "Then don't say anything," I responded. Thomas produced the final documents. "Mr. Darius Crawford, here is your official citation. You have 3 days to appear in family court to answer for the charges of complicity in attempted asset fraud against a senior citizen." "Complicity?" Darius stammered. "My signature is on the property transfer request documents. My name is on the request for my mother's mental incapacity. I authorize the fraudulent use of this property. I am legally responsible for all the damages." "But I'm her son," he protested. "She can't sue her own son." "Mr. Crawford," the police officer stated, "the law makes no exceptions for kinship when it comes to fraud and theft. A crime is a crime, no matter who commits it." Tameka's mother began to weep. "This is unfair," she cried. "We're family. Families don't sue each other." "Families also don't steal from each other," I replied. "But you decided to break that rule first." Thomas checked his watch. "You have exactly 2 hours to collect your personal belongings and leave the property. Any item that belongs to Mrs. Crawford must remain. The officer will oversee the process to ensure you don't take anything that isn't yours." 2 hours? Shanice shrieked. "That's impossible. We have children, we have luggage." "You should have considered that before trespassing on someone else's property," the notary retorted sharply. Tameka approached me, tears streaming down her face. But these weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of incandescent fury. "You're going to pay for this," she screamed, her voice laced with venom. "You're going to pay dearly for humiliating us like this. Darius, say something. Defend your family." Darius looked at me with an expression I'd never witnessed before. It wasn't love, respect, or regret. It was resentment, pure and unadulterated resentment. "Mom, are you really going to do this?" Darius asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Darius, I've already done it. You brought me here," I replied, my voice firm. "But we're family," he protested, the word hanging heavy in the air. "Family." I repeated the word slowly, the weight of its violation settling upon me. Family invades houses. Family steals jewelry. Family forges medical documents. Family publicly humiliates its elders. We just wanted. You wanted to rob me, and I want justice. I finished for him, my voice steady. Thomas closed his folder. "Ladies and gentlemen, you have 2 hours. The clock is already running." I watched as Tameka's entire family surged toward the house like a frantic colony of ants, grabbing belongings, shouting at each other, and blaming one another for the unfolding catastrophe. But I remained rooted in my garden, observing the meticulously crafted plan designed to destroy me unravel before my eyes. Loretta Johnson had counterattacked, and she had won the first round. The 2 longest hours of my life unfolded like a fast-forwarded family drama. From the deck of my reclaimed house, I watched their carefully orchestrated invasion collapse into utter chaos. Tameka's mother was the first to crack. After a half-hour of weeping and shouting, she collapsed onto the stairs, refusing to participate in the frantic packing. "This is your fault, Tameka," she wailed at her daughter. "You told me everything was settled. You told me the old lady had accepted everything." "Mom, shut up and help me pack." Tameka snapped back, frantically stuffing clothes into plastic bags. "The old lady set a trap for us. She acted like a defenseless old woman. And it turns out she has lawyers and money stashed away." Shanice, ever the documentarian, recorded the entire spectacle on her phone. But these weren't celebratory videos of a new beach house. They were recordings of a family's public humiliation, their legal eviction as trespassers. "This is going viral," she screamed, filming her sister's desperate packing. "Everyone's going to know how they treated us. They're going to see what kind of person this lady is." The police officer intervened, confiscating her phone. "Miss, we warned you about unauthorized recording during a legal proceeding. Continued recording will result in arrest for obstruction of justice." The children ran around the house crying and screaming, unable to comprehend why they had to leave the paradise where they'd been playing. One of them, a boy of about 8, approached me. "Ma'am, why are you kicking us out? We didn't do anything wrong." My heart ached. The children were innocent pawns in their parents' ruthless game. "I'm not kicking you out because you did anything wrong," I explained softly. "I'm asking you to leave because this is my house, and your family came here without my permission." "But my mom said it was our house now." "Your mom was wrong." Tameka overheard our conversation and stormed over, her face contorted with rage. "Don't talk to my kids. You have no right to confuse them further." "I'm not confusing them. You confused them by bringing them to a house that wasn't yours. This house is ours. Darius is her son. Children inherit from their parents. Children inherit when their parents die, not when their parents are still alive and healthy. You're already old. What do you need so much property for at your age?" Thomas interjected smoothly. "Ma'am, every comment regarding my client's age is being documented as evidence of age discrimination and psychological abuse of a senior citizen." Tameka fell silent immediately. Darius had been silently carrying suitcases to the cars, avoiding my gaze. But with only 30 minutes remaining, he finally approached me. "Mom, we need to talk." "There's nothing left to talk about, Darius." "Yes, there is. Look, I admit things got out of control, but we can fix this. We can reach a family agreement without lawyers and police." "What kind of agreement?" "You keep the house, of course. We accept it was a mistake to come without telling you, and in exchange you drop all lawsuits and the stolen jewelry. We'll return everything taken by mistake." "By mistake? You really think I'll accept that stealing my mother's jewelry was a mistake?" "Mom, it wasn't stealing. It was a misunderstanding. And the forged medical report was also a misunderstanding." He remained silent. "And the request for property transfer due to mental incapacity was also a misunderstanding?" Silence. "And publicly humiliating me by calling me a parasite was also a misunderstanding?" "That wasn't me. That was Tameka. But you were there. You saw me humiliated by your wife in my own house, and you said nothing." I didn't know what to say." "You knew exactly what to say, Darius. You knew you had to defend your mother, but you chose silence to avoid contradicting your wife." "Tameka was stressed, Mom. She had her whole family here. The kids were restless, and that gave her the right to insult me on my own property." Darius's desperation was palpable. "Okay, Tameka behaved badly. I admit it. What else do you want me to say?" "I want you to tell me the truth. I want you to admit you planned to steal my house using forged documents. I want you to admit you betrayed me for money. I didn't betray you for money. I did it for my family. And what am I, Darius? Am I not your family? Yes, you're my family. But Tameka and the kids are my primary responsibility now. So your primary responsibility now is to rob your mother? It wasn't robbing. It was securing my children's future by destroying the present of the one who gave you life. Darius buried his face in his hands, groaning in frustration. Mom, you don't understand. We have huge expenses. The kids need private schools, clothes, vacations. Tameka's house needs repairs. I work day and night, but the money's never enough. And that's why you decided I had to pay your bills with my life's work? You live alone in a small apartment. You don't need such a big beach house. It's a waste. The truth, stark and brutal, was finally out. Darius hadn't betrayed me out of love for his family. He had betrayed me because he believed I didn't deserve what I'd worked my entire life to achieve. A waste, I repeated slowly, the word hanging in the air. Mom, I didn't mean it in a bad way. Are my 30 years of working day and night a waste? No. But is my discipline of saving every penny to build this house a waste? Mom, please. Is my sacrifice of raising you alone after becoming a widow a waste? That's enough. Darius exploded, his voice thick with suppressed rage. It's always the same with you. Always reminding me of everything you sacrificed. Always making me feel guilty for having my own life. The ensuing silence was absolute. Even Tameka paused her packing to listen. There's the truth, I said, my voice calm, surprising even myself. You didn't betray me for money. You betrayed me because my sacrifices for you became a psychological burden you couldn't bear. I didn't say that. You didn't have to say it. You just screamed it. Darius stood there, breathing heavily, his face flushed with shame and anger. Do you know what the saddest thing about all this is, son? I asked him, my voice gentle but firm. If you had asked me for help directly, I would have helped you. If you had told me you were having financial problems, we would have found a solution together. But you preferred to conspire behind my back, humiliate me publicly, and try to rob me using the law. Why, Darius? Why did you choose the cruelest path? Because I knew you would say no. How did you know if you never asked me? Because you've always been very attached to your money, very controlling with your life's work. Controlling? Darius, I paid for your college. I bought you your first car. I lent you the down payment for your house. I've helped you financially dozens of times in your adult life, but always with conditions, always reminding me that it was your money, that it was my sacrifice. Finally, everything clicked into place. Darius hadn't betrayed me out of greed. He had betrayed me out of pride. His masculine pride couldn't bear the continued financial dependence on his aging mother. You know what, Darius? I said finally. You're right. I should have forced you to be more independent when you were younger. I should have let you solve your own problems instead of always rescuing you. But it's too late to change the past. And now you're going to have the opportunity to be completely independent, because from now on you're going to solve all your financial problems without my help. Thomas checked his watch. Folks, you have 10 minutes left. The final exodus was chaotic. Tameka barking orders, children wailing, Darius lugging the last suitcases with an air of complete defeat. Once they were finally in their cars, Tameka rolled down her window and unleashed one last threat. This isn't over, you bitter old lady. We're going to appeal. We're going to prove you're crazy. Go right ahead, I replied calmly. My lawyer will be waiting for you. The car sped away, raising a cloud of dust in my driveway. Darius was the last to leave, his gaze lingering in the rearview mirror, but I'd already turned my back. Thomas approached. How do you feel, Mrs. Crawford? Tired, I answered honestly, but free. Free from having to pretend we're a happy family. Free from having to excuse betrayal with maternal love. Free from pretending this can be fixed with forgiveness and forgetting. The police officer bid farewell. The notary completed his paperwork. Thomas handed me the keys. Mrs. Crawford, your house has been officially recovered. I ascended the steps to my terrace and settled into my favorite chair. For the first time in a week, I was alone in my own home. But the final act of this drama was yet to come. 1 week after the eviction, my beach house was restored to its former glory. I'd engaged a professional cleaning service for $700 to eradicate all traces of the invasion. The strange odors had vanished, the stains were gone, and my furniture was back in its rightful place. But the true justice was only just beginning. Thomas called on Friday with news that brought the first smile to my face in weeks. "Mrs. Crawford, I have some important updates. The doctor who signed the fraudulent dementia report has been suspended by the medical board. The investigation revealed he'd signed at least 12 similar reports in exchange for cash, and the legal repercussions for Darius and Tameka. That's the best part. The prosecutor decided to proceed with criminal charges for asset fraud and conspiracy. It's no longer just a civil matter. It's a criminal case now." "What exactly does that mean?" "It means they could face jail time if found guilty. And it also means their legal fees have been astronomical." That same afternoon, I received an unexpected call. It was Shanice, Tameka's sister, her voice choked with tears. "Loretta, please, we need to talk. Tameka is desperate. Darius has spent over $15,000 on lawyers, and the legal proceedings aren't even finished yet. And what does that have to do with me? We want to apologize. We want to fix things." "Do you want to fix things? Or do you need me to drop the lawsuits because you're running out of money?" "Ma'am, please. Tameka has kids to support. Darius could lose his job if this goes public at his office. She should have thought about her kids before planning to rob me. And Darius should have thought about his job before forging medical documents. But you already got your house back. You already won. Why keep punishing us?" "Because getting my house back doesn't erase the humiliation. It doesn't return the stolen jewelry. It doesn't eliminate the psychological damage of being betrayed by my own son. We can give the jewelry back. It's at my mom's house." "The jewelry you took by mistake? The jewelry you accidentally stole during the confusion of moving?" "Ma'am, please. Shanice, tell your sister that if she wants to talk to me, she can come here personally and bring all the stolen jewelry." I hung up, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and sadness. The satisfaction came from watching their plan to destroy me crumble. The sadness came from knowing my relationship with Darius was likely over forever. 2 days later, Tameka arrived at my door. She came alone without Darius, clutching a bag, her eyes swollen from crying. "Loretta, I came to return your things and to apologize. Come in." She sat in my living room like a chastised child, placed the bag on the table, and began to meticulously remove my jewels. "Here are the pearl earrings. Here is the gold watch. Here are the silver coins. And here is the necklace that we also took by mistake. Ma'am, the truth is I took them, but it wasn't to steal them. It was to sell them. We needed the money urgently. We have a lot of debts. Darius lost money in some bad investments last year. We're behind on our mortgage. Our credit cards are maxed out and the kids need school. And that's why you decided to rob me?" "It wasn't robbing. It was asking for your help indirectly by invading your house and publicly humiliating you." Tameka began to weep. "Loretta, I admit I behaved badly, very badly. But I was desperate when Darius told me you had this beautiful house, and that you almost never used it. I thought maybe you thought you could take it from me without asking. I never wanted to take it from you. I just wanted to use it while you weren't here. And then when we saw how expensive it was to maintain 2 houses, we thought maybe it would be better for the house to officially be Darius's to avoid legal problems in the future." "Legal problems, Tameka? You created the legal problems by falsifying medical documents. That was the idea of the cheap lawyer we consulted. He told us it was the fastest way to transfer property between family. A lawyer recommended you commit fraud? He said it wasn't fraud if it was between immediate family?" I fell silent for a moment, absorbing the sheer level of ignorance and naivete they had demonstrated. They had financially and legally ruined their lives by following the counsel of a corrupt, incompetent lawyer. "Where is Darius?" I asked. He didn't want to come. He says you're not his mother anymore. Those words stung more than I anticipated, yet they also confirmed I'd made the right decision. He says I'm not his mother anymore. Yes. He says a real mother wouldn't sue her own son. That you chose money over family. And what do you think, Tameka? I think we started all of this. But I also think you took things too far. We could have resolved everything as a family without lawyers or police. How could we have resolved it as a family if you never told me the truth? If you lied to me, deceived me, and planned to rob me behind my back? But we're family. Families forgive. Families respect each other, Tameka. And you disrespected me in every way possible. Tameka wiped her eyes and looked at me directly. What do I need to do for you to drop the lawsuits? Do you really want to know? Yes. I want Darius to come here personally and apologize to me. Not to you, not on the phone. I want him to come and look me in the eyes and admit everything he did wrong. He won't come. He's too proud. Too proud to apologize to his mother, but not too proud to try to rob his mother. He feels betrayed by you too, Loretta. Betrayed for defending myself from his attacks. Betrayed because you chose lawyers over family. I laughed, a bitter, soul-wrenching laugh. Tameka, do you really think I chose lawyers over family? That's not what happened. I chose justice over betrayal. I chose dignity over humiliation. I chose truth over lies. But we were family. Family. Families take care of each other. You tried to destroy me. Tameka rose to leave. So there's no way to fix this. The way to fix this was not to do it in the first place. After she left, I sat on my terrace, watching the sunset paint the sky. The waves crashed against the shore. Their rhythm indifferent to human drama. A week later, Thomas called with the final update. Mrs. Crawford, Darius and Tameka accepted a plea deal. They're going to pay a fine of $25,000. They're each going to do 200 hours of community service, and will be on probation for 2 years. No jail time? No, but they will have a permanent criminal record. And the fraudulent doctor's report has been officially annulled. Your mental capacity is legally pristine. And the legal fees? They've spent over $30,000 on defense lawyers. Between the fines and legal fees, it cost them over $50,000 to try to rob your house. $50,000. Almost half the value of my house. They'd lost more money trying to rob me than they would have gained if they'd succeeded. That night, alone in my reclaimed home, I reflected on everything that had transpired. I'd lost my son. That was the most painful reality. Darius had chosen resentment over repentance, pride over forgiveness. But I'd gained something far more valuable. My dignity, my independence, and the confirmation that Loretta Johnson was still a strong, intelligent woman capable of defending herself against any threat. My 70 years hadn't transformed me into a defenseless old woman. They'd forged me into a wise woman with resources, connections, and the resolve to protect what I'd built with so much effort. The following month I did something I'd never done before. I hired a part-time housekeeper to maintain the house in my absence. Not because I couldn't do it myself, but to ensure no one could ever invade it again without my knowledge. I also changed all the locks, installed security cameras, and updated my will to bequeath the house to charity rather than Darius. If he wanted complete financial independence, he was going to have it. 6 months later, I received a letter from Darius. A letter, not a call. He didn't even possess the courage to speak to me directly. Mom, I hope you're doing well. The kids ask about you. Tameka and I have learned our lesson. Maybe someday we can be a family again. I didn't reply. True families don't betray each other for money. True families don't humiliate their elders. True families don't plan robberies using forged documents. Darius had chosen money over his mother. I had chosen my dignity over his forgiveness. We each lived with the consequences of our choices. I lived in my beach house free, independent, and at peace. They lived with debt, a criminal record, and the social stigma of attempting to swindle a 70-year-old woman. Silent justice had prevailed, and Loretta Johnson had proven that underestimating an older woman was the most expensive mistake one could ever make.